Hey folks, and welcome back to the channel again for another video. So you've all asked me to get on this security upgrade package and get an update out there and kind of go through, break it down, give my perspective. But I think we need to give a little bit of context to this situation, because there's probably a lot of people wondering why we've gone back to a rudimentary means from what we can see here of proposing a spend proposal and getting paid for it, whether it be upfront or after. We've seen genuine labs also follow this route. And this is realistically all down just to people wanting to work, wanting to get stuff done. Because of the issues surrounding the paid per job, you can't implement a system like this, right, and expect a KYC trusted dev like Finn, people like this to merge code from non-KYC devs that they don't know. And honestly, this is a responsible and mature thing to do, because I ask you to put yourself in their shoes. Would you possibly upload malicious code? You wouldn't, right? And that's why I kind of paused there for a second, because it's so silly to even think that that is an okay route to take. And there's obviously these suggestions that, oh, validators should check the code and validators should check everything, and then it should be merged. It shouldn't be down to things like this. But the biggest issue with that is validators don't actually care. And this is a long running issue on this chain. And a lot of validators are paper made. They don't really understand the system, and they don't really know what being a validator is all about. They just believe chasing things and providing all sorts of false promises and different stuff like that. It's very interesting. The situation's very greed based at the moment with commissions, voting power and stuff like that. But removing that 0% commission rate, I'm sure will fix that. So with a little bit of background context there, as to why it's ended up like this, we really do need to look at that and take it for what it is at face value. And to give a little bit more context, just before we get into this any further, if you look at labor market, what Luna's producing, that's just the same as paid per job, and it works in the exact same way. The only difference is labor market's a far more advanced system that's being created by the Luna development team, being TFL. So let's move forward with this. And this is a core security upgrade package. And the basic summary of this is this core security upgrade package aims at addressing the security risks, lack of new features originated from legacy components of Terra Classic. Successfully updating these core components will provide up-to-date security and stability, as well as enabling the infrastructure needed for TFL support. And this is really important to take note of needing the support from TFL, because this is part of this route that we're going to be walking inevitably towards enterprise, towards payments DAO and all of the different things, right? The treasury systems and enterprise as a whole with labor market and all those cool, interesting tools, and realistically just branching out and utilizing and using what we can. So it's really important to stress that point in this. So the WASM module is obviously going to be one of the things here. And I'm not going to bore you by going through and really like explaining these things, because honestly, the likelihood is you're not going to understand it. You're going to get a little bit confused. But what this is all surrounding is core maintenance and getting the system secure, stable, and workable so we can go off and we can do things. So something to take note of in here is the roadmap timeline. And this is realistically what you're going to be more interested in, is looking at this, going through this and seeing what's on the cards here. And we've got a rebrand of the same bad circle of Klaus Schwab followers, the ones that pray to the owl and stuff like that. And they've rebranded once again. I think it's like 4 rebrands now, 2 chains kind of thing. We're definitely going to make an album at some point for them, but notably they have rebranded and they're offering to do all of this sort of stuff for free. And what I honestly say is kudos, my hat's off to them. Produce it, merge it, do whatever you need to do, but just do it. Stop talking about it, stop preaching about it, propose it. If it gets accepted, then go ahead. But what we've seen every time is the same thing happen every time, is people don't want to see these bad actors work on the chain. And it's as simple as that. And it all comes down to a governance vote. As much as they sit there and moan and target everybody and say, oh, it's all HCC's fault. oh, this, that, and the other. At the end of the day, right, it all goes down to a decentralized decision. And that's what's going to happen with this. So what I think you're all going to be quite interested in is how the payment structure of this is going to work. And from what I can tell down here, right at the bottom, is the payment will be divided with half due upfront and the remaining half payable upon the conclusion of the 11th week. And it's either this or the way Genuine Labs is doing it, or getting it all up front. There's no in between. There's no other choices on this. So as much as people are going to sit there and moan all of these different things, right, I would rather, in my opinion, pay for an upgrade from people who we know, who we can trust. They've been vetted, they've been doing work on the chain, they understand everything, and they know where the chain stands. And they're not trying to do all these kind of weird, like malicious stuff of just simply controlling the blockchain. They're just here to develop. And it's the same with this new development group, which is 4 or 5 developers of Cosmos developers, which are going to be making a debut, I'm sure, at some point in the future. So on this, we have got Frag as a voluntary member. And this is really important to understand, that being a voluntary member and a contributor it's a really decent thing to do, because the more people working on something, the better. So I think people need to understand that there's a middle ground with all of this. And as much as people are sitting there saying, oh, this is HTC's proposal, I'm not part of TCC. I created it and then I left. And it's the same with all of these other, I'm not part of them, right? And this has nothing to do with me. For starters, I'm not a developer, right? I like doing what I can do best, and that's providing content, having my say, suggesting good ideas, and doing what I need to do. If I have to do something, I'll go and do it. But ultimately, it's all about getting these great minds together to do stuff. Straff's not on here for obvious reasons, but we have got Vin, Einon Man, and it's good. The reason why I say this is because too many chefs spoil the broth. And it really is as simple as that. When you have too many people working at the same time on so many different things, going on so many different routes, it gets confusing. You don't get as much done, and you're not as streamlined and unified as you could be. So I'm going to leave links to this all in the description. But what I'm going to do here is just go over a couple more things that I think we need to take into account. And is that this is all just major upgrades that we need in order to move further along the board, so to speak, to get more implementation with TFL, with all of these different things, because Station V3 has launched. You can go and use the extension. I'll do a video on it probably later today for you. I've merged one of my wallets over, and it's just such a good system. I did have early access to it, but I wasn't allowed to leak it or show anyone it or anything like that. But now obviously I can, because it's going and has gone public. But there's all these really amazing situations that are playing out around us, and we really need to push towards it. And like with these EVMs and all of these different things, right, what people should really be thinking is, hey, look, we've got Alliance, and we need to figure out where we belong in the Alliance system. And having an asset, right, to trade through Alliance is required. It's not something we can avoid. We're going to have to do it. And that asset can have all sorts of different kind of economic structured taxes and different things that get applied to it. And I think people should be more looking towards what we can do on the Cosmos instead of trying to branch off to Ethereum or some other crazy chain, which is inevitably, it's a slower system. The gas fees are higher. The development's not that good. It's just a lot of money grabbing stuff, and it's just not something that's going to benefit us. But stuff like this, on the face of it, it doesn't look like much. And that's why I'm not going in. I'm not doing this real kind of like read through and breakdown, because you could do that yourself. But to everybody off the face of this, it just looks like a load of stuff that you're not really going to understand. Upgrades for testnets, deployment guides for validators. And these deployment guides are really important. They go into a Discord group, and they really help validators on chain who are still learning actually make these upgrades, specifically when you're running it yourself from your own home with your own infrastructure, so to speak. And contacting these major DApps on Lunc for the testnet contract migrations is going to be even more important. So there are little snippets in here which are probably going to get people hyped up. They're going to be people very interested. What we're going to have to do is wait until we reach these points to report on them, because I don't want to get people too hyped up. And we're moving into this bull run, right? The big bull run, the bull run of bull runs of bull runs. That could have been a bull run, so to speak. We need to position ourselves as best as we can. And the more teams we've got working on this chain towards different things, the better. And like I said, with the way that this term of service works and how the payment works, the way Genuine Labs is working, I really like it, but at the same time, I know how the community is. I know how the bad actors, specifically the Klaus Schwab people, will be if there's a slight thing off. They'll say, no, don't pay them. Don't pay them. We've got it for free anyway. Just don't pay them. And that's a risk inherently these people have to take. So doing this kind of situation where they get half up front, half at the end, kind of floats my boat, because with the pay per job system, you would have a kind of structure like that also. So this is all going to be down to submission of the proposal and getting it passed and stuff, but it's going to be down to the validators and the community to have the final say and sway on this. But if you want to go and look at this, this is on the new Commonwealth for you to look out. Like I said, I'll leave links to this all in the description. Go through it, educate yourself as best as you can. If you don't understand anything, go to Station, get the document system up and just search the terms in there. And just try best educate yourself as much as you can. And that's what I kind of like about not taking too much of a deep dive into it, giving my opinion of the heading, where we're going, the idea behind things, because it's better that you go off and learn these things and understand the system so you can be better involved with it and you can better invigorate yourself with the system as it stands, so you can start to understand what all of these lingo terms and all this dragged out sort of information. But like I said, it's a security upgrade which pushes towards enabling infrastructure, which is really needed for this TFL support. And if we are to follow this route and get access, like every other blockchain is right now, to these systems, and everybody wants to see more decentralization, right? So with this TFL support comes Foundation. And if we get on Foundation, which we can, it's a measly, I think $1,500 one-time fee to get on there. We will have decentralized our endpoints further. So we would have all nodes, Hexagon if they're still supplying those, which I think they are. Shout out to them if they are. And then you'd have them from TFL as well, and that further decentralizes us. And these are the kind of goals we should be driving towards. And this is kind of, like I said, what I'm thinking is the route, the road, and where we're heading with all of these different things. So I'm excited to see the back end of Genuine Labs' upgrade, and I'm excited to see this get underway, because ultimately, like I explained at the beginning, lots of people, including validators, that don't build anything, they don't deploy anything, they just sit there. And the Luna validators as well included, would just simply like, no KYC, not understanding that if we put them in that position and say to them, well, just, merge this code. Well, I haven't checked it. Oh, don't worry. Well, I don't know who you are. Oh, don't worry, just merge it. It doesn't work like that, right? And what I think is, and it's starting to be a strong understanding of mine, is the aim of the game is to keep this chain in perpetual motion where it doesn't move. It stays on the spot. And they just keep bogging us down. And ultimately, they're the ones benefiting most from this. They're the ones that are getting the most of the commission. They're the ones that are taking all of that off chain, not providing anything. Meanwhile, they're just laughing at us. They don't care. I can't name the validator specifically, but I remember asking a validator to do something once and said, why don't you deploy something on LUNC? And they laughed. They laughed. And I thought, it's a bit jokey, but they were dead serious. They laughed and they said, why would I build anything on that chain? And I said, well, it's got all of these opportunities. And they're just laughing. They're like, why would I do that? Why would I do that? And they're a big time validator. They're just interested, like I said, in getting a paycheck, in commission. And that's been made far more substantial with them, with the reduction of the active set down to 100. So getting that back up to 130 is going to be really good to reduce the amount that they're getting, because ultimately there's nothing really more we can do from our side as a community and as validators that are trying to make a change. These big validators need to do something themselves. They need to say to their delegates, look, you need to redelegate. It's not fair. It's killing the chain. The chain's going to die if it continues like this, but they're not interested in that. It's all about keeping quiet, voting on what you think is not going to give them any attraction whatsoever and keep them and you in a very happy state. And it's just a situation where you need to understand that this is happening and you need to redelegate with real validators on this chain that show up every day, that produce content every day, that run different systems behind the scenes and do all of these different things, right, to help people out. I mean, I don't know how many validators I've helped now spin up a validator and I've not had one shout out, no support, and it's just everybody is so greed based. And when we have a greed based system, right, what happens is nobody builds anything. The only thing that is driven is greed. You're not building to try and gain voting power and all of these different things. We've got to change the system, and this security upgrade I think is going to be another step towards that. And hopefully we're going to see some modifications to the dynamic commission, get rid of these 0% commission rates so we can move this blockchain forward more. And we need to think of more ways and look into the different sorts of technologies we can use and utilize to decentralize the voting power more down from those top sort of validators. And I think there's always going to be a lot of voting power on chain moving about because inherently there's a lot of tokens, right? There's a lot of surplus LUNC just knocking around, and I need to do a video on it, but all of the old validators, right, for the first, I think like 6 months, they were the only validators on chain getting commission because Terra rebels had prevented anyone from spinning up any validators and more or less just allowed them to sit there as 66 validators reaping all of the rewards for 6 months while all of us chumps sat there twiddling our thumbs, really wanting to spin up a validator and make a difference. And I think this is why a lot of them still have a huge amount staked, because they just had so much time to prepare. They've had so much time to build up. They've had pre-crash stuff, and it's very interesting to say the least, but hopefully this gives you an idea of what's going on. I think what I'm going to do is try to do a podcast, an episode with one of the developers on this team, if not a developer like Strathcole or Frag, and we'll go through this on a more in-depth scale. We'll break things down better for you, and we'll get everything on point for those who want a more in-depth description of this thing and going into it and all the sort of inherent issues that will come with it and the payments and stuff like that. But let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you think this is really bad that we've had to move off from having this real sort of smooth, unified paper job system that's really safe and has a KYC system, instead going back to this? What do you think? We should stick to the caveman stuff? We should stay with this? Should they be paid before? They should be paid after? Let me know and I'll get back to you in the comment section. And the same again with coins, different stuff that you want me to cover here on the channel, folks. Just keep me updated in the comment section and I'll keep the content pumping out for you folks. Other than that, like, subscribe, comment. Those things really do help here. We've got a Patreon if you want to subscribe to that. Also, if you've got LUNC, like I said, consider delegating with us. We've got our own auto compounding module, which is totally separate from all of the other ones. It's on the hccfactory.com website and it's really easy. It's like a one simple click, really clean, no sort of spam all over the thing. And it's just our validator on there, and it's just for our delegates to be away from all of the clutter, noise, and that bulky sort of system we originally built for everybody to use for free. Folks, stay safe, stay humble, stay aware. As always, catch you in the next one.